Hey guys, it is Criss again, and welcome to the third episode of my art podcast, Criss Talks. This is the season finale, and I'm super excited to get into the topic for today. I know it's just 3 episodes long, but I think for a pilot, this is a pretty good amount of episodes just to kind of see if I really like these art podcasts and see if I want to continue them. So before we get into this video, grab some creative work to do, grab your favorite drink. I am drinking more grape juice because I really just love some grape juice, and let's get to it. So today I wanted to talk, and you can probably tell by the title, a little bit about trying to stay dedicated into doing your art, trying to continue finding the times to do your art when you go through those periods of art block, or you just feel like you're not creating, or you're just frustrated in general. And I also wanted to talk about trusting in your personal timing. So that's the topics of today. But before we get into that topic, I wanted to direct you to the artwork you see me doing here. So this is a digital drawing, and I decided to film this one not through screen recording, but actually just through my phone. And you can kind of see me going through the process there. My phone was dying a few times and my Apple Pencil was dying. So unfortunately you can't see the entire process from start to finish, but I think you can see pretty much the whole gist of whatever's going on here. I'm really excited about this one. I knew that this was going to be the season finale, so I wanted to do a very detailed piece, wanted to get a background in there, since so far I've only been drawing just a guy doing pretty much nothing. So this one is a full detailed picture. And to talk about this piece, it actually wasn't supposed to be a digital piece. It was going to be a traditional watercolor piece, but the most tragic and unfortunate thing happened. And it's such a shame because I decided to, when I was going to ink it, to use a dip pen, but I wasn't supposed to use an ink pen. I was going to use a Copic marker because I knew that the ink I have isn't fully waterproof. And for this, I didn't want any of the lines to smudge around. So I was supposed to line it with a multi-liner that I knew was waterproof, and I was going in with ink. And I'm always very careful with my inks. I always put it on a separate mat. I'm always just trying my hardest to make sure that if it spills a little bit out of it, that I can clean it up right away and that I don't create a mess. But my boyfriend called me, and I guess I was a little bit distracted because my hand went right into it, and it just spilled all over the painting, all over the piece, all over my desk, my white fluffy pillow, and even on my carpet. It is still in my carpet. It's ink, so there's only so much you can do there. And it was very tragic, and it's kind of funny because I wasn't very sad when it happened. I mean, it was a sad thing to happen. I was like, wow, this sucks. But I wasn't very sad. And I think what kind of helped with that was just thinking, this kind of goes into what I was trying to talk about with the podcast. So yeah, I wanted to talk about staying motivated. And there are times that are very trying. If you spill ink all over a picture that you spend hours just working on drawing, you're going to be very disheartened to continue on, to want to work on it again. And as I was cleaning up the ink with my very black, full of ink hands, I thought, will I draw this piece again, this very specific piece again? And I got to the conclusion, yeah, I'm going to draw it again because I had a lot of fun drawing it the first time. And even though this is tragic, I was going to have to draw it with a liner anyway. So what's one more time? I mean, with the liner, it's just tracing. So it would have sucked because I'm not great with perspective. And it took me a long time to really get that down in this drawing too. But when I really sat down and thought about it, I was like, yeah, I'll do it again. But what lucked out, what really helped me was I took a picture of the sketch, which I never really do. Sometimes I even forget to take a picture of the finished line work with black ink on it. But this time I took a picture of the sketch, and I think it was because I was proud of how it turned out, just a sketch, that I took a picture. And I looked at that and I was like, oh, maybe instead of doing this as a watercolor piece, I can do a digital piece. Now, I'm still not very comfortable with digital piece. I still have only a few months on Procreate that I've been trying. Never was a digital artist in my past, not in my childhood, never had like a drawing tablet. So it's still all very new to me. And I knew that was going to be a little bit frustrating to do digitally because I am so used to the old-fashioned way. But by the end of this drawing, I really liked how it came out, and I'm actually glad that I was able to turn a negative into a positive. So maybe you're struggling with something similar where you're just feeling disheartened, or everything you create is just not coming out the way you want it to. I know I touched a bit about this on the last video, but there are some things you can do to maybe not necessarily keep the motivation up, but to keep your dedication going strong. And one of the things I recommend, and if you haven't tried it already, I would recommend trying it, is prayer. And I know that might sound like a little bit of a different advice, maybe not advice you've heard before, but I definitely recommend prayer. This year, I knew I wanted to start YouTube. I wanted to start drawing more seriously, drawing a lot more. I wanted to get better at anatomy, proportions, drawing more men. These are all goals I had coming into 2020. And now with all this time that I've been at home, I've definitely honed in on really working towards those things. And I think what really pushed me into going for it was praying about it, praying about my passions, praying that God leads me in what I'm supposed to be doing, what really is important, because I've always struggled with, what do I want to do? What exactly do I want to do? I like this, but I also like that. So I've always struggled with that. So I've been praying about it. And keep in mind, when you pray, there is still work to be done. I mean, I know God can perform miracles, but with things like this, you have to put in your effort too, because you can't just pray and then lay in bed and expect things to magically happen. You have to put in some effort too. So for me, that was praying and saying, let me keep drawing and let me see how it goes. And I felt my motivation go up, which is something that doesn't happen for me often. Motivation is always very finicky with me, but my motivation gone up. I've been drawing more and I've been creating videos and I've been very excited about it, which is just a layer of fun. It's just a layer of what you want to have happen when you start working on things. So if you haven't tried that, I would definitely recommend you try that. So like I said, there are other things you should do besides just praying and doing nothing. So like I mentioned in the last video as well about routines and quarantining in those times, I think it's very important to put yourself a schedule, to give yourself some time to work on drawings. And I know this is something that's said before, but I want to talk about it, and I kind of want to explain how this is very important and the way you do it is very important. If you're not drawing consistently right now, if you're not drawing at all, if you're not drawing on a daily, I would not make a schedule for yourself to draw 5 days a week, 7 days a week, not even 3 days a week to start out. If you're really starting at zero, it is important to start slowly. So I would put just 1 day a week for like 10 minutes. Just do some doodles. Of course, you can draw outside of that time, but if you set aside this time, even if you're not feeling up to it, even if you're not feeling excited, at least you can have something to show for it. Just a doodle here. That sense of accomplishment that I stuck to a time that I gave myself and I did it is going to propel you into doing more in the future. So I definitely recommend just setting a time, and even if you have to draw like crap, draw like crap. When you set this time, make sure that it is not a time that you know you have something else going on around that time. If you have a set dinner time, don't set it around dinner time. If you want to do it in the morning, but you know when you wake up, you usually just want to lay in bed, don't do it right when you wake up. Find a sweet spot that you know you're awake, you're fully into the day, and that you know you'll typically be on your phone, browsing the internet, on TV, or etc. anyways, and try and pick that time to squeeze in at least 10 minutes to start. And if you do that once a week consistently, you're going to feel more excited, you're going to feel more capable, and proving to yourself that you can do it, you're going to want to do more. Now, I did have one final suggestion that I wanted to give. And again, I think these are more slightly stranger suggestions, not necessarily strange, but just ones that you might not have heard before. And I just wanted to give 3 because I know you can find videos out there that'll give you a bunch of stuff. And I wanted to get into the next topic of this podcast. But this third idea, if you haven't tried it already, I would recommend it, is telling family or friends that you're going to draw them a picture and tell them when you're going to draw it by and give it to them by. Now, I know a lot of people are very finicky about giving away free art. A lot of artists will only give away their art if they're paid for it. And I recognize that you're spending a lot of time and energy and art supplies on the art that you make. But if right now you're still just experimenting and drawing, if right now you're not even selling your pieces to anyone, I don't think it's a bad thing to start getting in the habit of setting a deadline that you're supposed to give someone by. So like if you want to start getting into commissions, you will have a deadline that the payer expects this piece from. If you haven't done that before, it's good to kind of get practice in that as well. So I think a good way to do this is by giving it to your friends or family, and that way they can also support you. If you have an Instagram that you're growing with your art, you can give it to them and have them promote it on their page so more people can find you. I think this is a good tip too. If you don't want to waste your art supplies, or if you don't want to give away something that you're really proud of, what you can start is draw something that you're not necessarily hung up over. So instead of drawing a piece that you really love, that you know you're going to love, use that time that you said that you're going to give them an artwork to draw a doodle. Let's say you're really good at drawing lips. Draw some fancy lips, color it in, sign your name on it, give them that. Let's say you're really good at drawing hands. I don't think anyone's really good at drawing hands, but let's say you're that one person who's really good at drawing hands. Draw some hands on a paper, color them in, slap your signature on it, give it to your friend, give it to your family member. This is just a way to kind of keep yourself responsible. I know for me, if it comes to myself and holding myself accountable, I can let myself down to the ends of the earth. I can always go back on a promise on myself. For some reason, I'm just really good at that. But I can't let down other people. I can't let down a family member. I can't let down a friend. Even if I'm in a group project, I can't let them down. Even though I'm such a procrastinator, I will have to work on it because I know there are people who are holding me accountable for it. So if you maybe think something like that, this could be a really good tip for you, because if you know that you don't like letting other people down, if you put those parameters in place, it'll kind of motivate you more to actually get this done and give it to them. Of course, this isn't a foolproof plan, and don't get hung up over yourself if you can't actually get it done in the time you told them. I would just reach out to them and get a little bit of an extension. But these are just some tips that maybe if you haven't tried before, give it a go. See if it works for you. Of course, with the drawing for people, this is just a way to really get yourself in the groove of setting yourself to time. If you can consistently kind of say, I'm going to give you this and do it at that time, then you can start doing it for yourself. You'll just have to start seeing yourself as that person. So those are just some quick tips that I wanted to give. This first season of podcasts have all been about art. So I wanted to just finish it off with this third episode being about art as well. And then of course, if I do make more seasons of this podcast, go into more random topics for videos, but I think art makes sense as the first topic. So the next thing is trusting in your timing. And this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. This is just something that's been in my mind for a little bit. And I think it's something that like a lot of us sometimes fail to remember, fail to think about. And that's just that, trusting in your timing. So, Criss, what do you mean by trusting in your timing? If you live in Western civilization, I can speak specifically for America and the culture of America. We are a very fast-paced country. We're a very get-it-done kind of people. It's a societal thing. It's something ingrained from us from top down, down up. Pretty much. It's just all about fast. Get that product out there, get yourself out there, keep moving, keep climbing. It's a very competitive culture. It's a very now kind of culture. And you can see that in many things, in social media. You want the new trends, you want it yesterday. If someone's coming to you with a meme tomorrow, you've already seen it 3 years ago. That's just where we're living in. That's just how it is. And you can even see that in schools. When you go to school, college is pushed so hard right after high school. In America, we don't know of a thing called a gap year. That's never really heard of. That's never really talked about in schools. It's more of once you finish high school, go directly to college. Get your career going from as early on as you can. If you can graduate college in 2 years, in 3 years for a 4-year degree, you're on the track to success, buddy. That is what you want. And once you finish your college years, go into that grad school. Don't settle down with a kid just yet. Get into grad school. Push your career further and then worry about the rest. So coming from that mentality, and I mean, if you haven't seen that, I am amazed by you. But what I've seen, it's always been that. It's always been, how are you going to market yourself? How are you going to sell yourself? How are you going to get that edge on somebody else that you get the job and they don't? And it's a very dog-eat-dog world out here. And that's a bit disheartening. And it's also very stressful, and they wonder why the anxiety rates in younger people are just skyrocketing. And I think it's just, that is a very unhealthy way to go about life. This idea to keep rushing, idea to keep pushing forward and to keep pushing despite things being hard. And I think that's where you see some mental disorders come about. It's just that pushing. And when I say trusting in your timing, I know we as artists, because I've seen other artists, I've seen from just YouTube, from Instagram, from my friends, other creative people. The creative field is a very difficult field. If you're on the track to become a doctor, you have set things in place that when you do this, when you do A, you will get to B. When you do B, you will get to C, and there's your goal. You are a doctor. But with art, it's a little bit different. You can go to school and be unsuccessful. You cannot go to school and be the most successful person there is. And that's not just art as in drawing art, but that's a lot of the creative fields. It's just a lot of, you have to really put yourself out there. And if you're an introvert, that might be a little bit harder. And even if you're putting yourself out there, there's no guarantee. Some people just get famous out of a whim. Some people just don't. Some people can sell artwork like nothing. You are struggling forever. It's just the name of the game pretty much with creative fields. And unfortunately, it causes a lot of people stress. A lot of people think they're so far behind. If you're in high school or middle school and you're drawing and you know your talents are pretty good for your age group, for your peers, for what you see around you, but you're not as good as the person you see on Instagram, it's very disheartening because you feel so far back. You feel like you should have been a prodigy at 5 and you should have been selling things at 15. And by the time you're 20, you should already be living the life, selling your artwork in your little cottage in the middle of the forest. And that's really just how it feels, because when you see other successful people, you really get down on yourself about, why am I not there? Why am I still behind? What can I do to propel myself forward? And of course, you see that because videos that I see get a lot of views on YouTube are that, how to increase followers, how to up your game, what kind of content do people want? Does quality over quantity matter? All of those things. But this is not sustainable. This is not a sustainable way to think, because first, like I said, it's not healthy. Second, it's not even right. And I can't even think of a better word to say than that, but it's really not a right way to think, because everyone has the opportunity to be successful. You could be successful in your 40s. You could be successful in your 30s. You could be successful when you're 12 years old. There is no time frame for when you have to be successful. You're successful when it is your time. And the most important thing you can do is work at your pace and not force yourself to work faster, not force yourself to work harder, and not miss the beauties of life because you cooped yourself away in your room just trying to work and get to a level where you are better than the next. Because you can like two completely different styles of artists. You can like someone who draws very cartoony, and you can like someone who draws very realistic. So whatever you have, whatever style you have, you can be successful at. You will find people who are going to like what you do for what you do. But it's all about not stressing over getting it done now. And I think this is important to think about because, I really wish as a society we'd slow down a little bit. We'd stop being such a cancel culture or wanting the next thing as soon as we can get it, because it's really damaging. It's really damaging mentally, and it's really damaging for a lot of people. Because I feel like, let's say right now you're working on art, but you're not sure if that's really where you want to be. And you decide you want to go into other things. But then you're kind of worried, if I go into other things, now my art will suffer because I'm not practicing art. But if you go into other things, you're going to learn so much more. You're going to learn so much more about another thing. And maybe that other thing you really like, and maybe you don't, and you have to come back to art. Either way, it was an experience that's only going to make you all the better for it. And I think another good analogy for this, to paint this picture, is, let's say you became a celebrity today. Let's say you became a celebrity today. That would be probably really awesome if that's what you're looking for. You could become a celebrity today, and because of where you are in your life, because of your current mental state, you have the possibility of losing yourself to the fame, losing yourself to the money, losing your trueness to self, your morals, your ethics, because you did it today. But maybe if you became a celebrity tomorrow and you learned something today, and tomorrow you were in a better headspace, now you're a celebrity, but you're staying true to yourself. You know yourself. The fame doesn't get to you. You don't fall into drugs. You don't fall into bad habits, because it was your timing tomorrow and not today. So sometimes we just need to not force things to happen so fast. Sometimes we need to not force things to click right away. Because I think too, with drawing, if you're really not in a good headspace, don't draw. If you're really not feeling up to it, don't draw. If you know your art's coming out bad and you're stressing yourself out, stop. Let it go. Let it be. And maybe when you let it be, you go out and you hang out with your friends. I mean, not now because we're all social distancing. But let's say if you stop drawing, you went out and you're hanging out with family, you're hanging out with friends. You might get an experience that you never would have got if you were just stuck in your room sad because things weren't coming out the way they are. And that's what's important. Everyone can be successful in what they want to be successful in. It's just about drive and also just just going at your pace, not forcing things to click into place, but just waiting with the motions, going with the motions. Of course, I would say, just because everyone has their time, don't completely give up on yourself. Don't give up on what your passions are, what your dreams are. Don't do nothing for those times. But if art's not doing it for you today, find something else to do. All of your experiences are going to help you out in the long run. They might help who you meet in your life, what you love doing in your life. Maybe you like drawing with colored pencils right now. Maybe you learn that you actually prefer markers. Explore those different avenues, and then when the timing is right, it'll come to you because you kept working. And of course, like I said before, keep on praying, because if no one else can help you through it, God totally can, and He will. He will totally be faithful to you. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. And I wanted to hear your guys' experiences, how you think about this topic. If you found, of course, tips to help keep you motivated, dedicated when you know you're kind of not really into drawing anymore. And also, what do you think about waiting for your timing? Do you think it's better to just kind of work hard, work fast, and just set yourself with that competitive edge over your peers? Or do you also kind of see an issue in this fastness in society and always this rushing and competitive nature? Of course, this is all just opinion talk. If you have other opinions, please share them. And also, if you were working on something during this time, please share it with me. I would love to see it. So that is all I have for this podcast. Thank you for every new person who has been subscribing to my channel, who has been supporting. If you watched my last podcast, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's kind of hard to sit in front of a camera and talk straight without editing for 20 plus minutes, but I'm just excited to be doing it. I'm excited to be sharing more art on YouTube. So hopefully if I do continue with the podcast, I can get some more interesting random topics. I'd like to talk more about TV shows and movies and just random humdrum day-to-day things. But for this is what I want to talk about. Also, oh my goodness, this is the end of my artwork. How do you feel about it? Do you like it? Do you think it's interesting? I am still playing around with the effects that you can do with digital art, just like the multiply and the overlays. I just love that you can kind of color things in such different colors and tie it all together with one color at the end. That's something that I'm not really great at with doing with watercolor, so I love that I can do that with digital art. So yeah, that is all from me, and of course I will see you on the next one, guys. Please stay safe, stay blessed, and I love yous. Bye-bye.